Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we dig into sources, articles, research, you name it, and pull out the key insights to get you up to speed fast. Today, we're diving into something that's, well, it's shaped pretty much every recording you've ever heard, reverb. We're tracing its journey, inspired by the echo evolution, a reverb history from actual echo chambers way back when to the incredible pedals and digital stuff we have now.
Absolutely, and it's such a crucial journey because reverb, fundamentally, it's not just, an add-on effect. It gives sound its place, its depth. It's the tool that lets artists and engineers kind of paint the space around the music. So yeah, it's been essential right through history.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Let's go right back. Before electronics, before any of that. How did they even do artificial reverb? What exactly was an echo chamber?
Well, it was literally what it sounds like. Back in the late 1930s, engineers would set up a loudspeaker and a microphone in a dedicated room, usually a small one, very reflective surfaces like tiles.
A bathroom, maybe?
Yeah, sometimes literally. They'd play the dry audio through the speaker, the mic would pick up all the natural reflections bouncing around the room, and then they'd mix that wet reverberant signal back in with the original dry sound.
Simple but clever.
Exactly. And it gave them real control, over how long the sound echoed, the decay time, and how smooth it sounded, the diffusion. It was vital for adding richness to early recordings.
Sounds like a lot of work, though, and you needed the right space, right? Not exactly something you could take on the road.
Oh, definitely not. A logistical challenge, for sure. Very limiting.
So what came next? What was the breakthrough that kind of tackled those physical problems?
Okay, that brings us to plate reverb. The big one was the EMT 140. Introduced by Electromess-Technic in 1957.
EMT 140, okay.
Yeah. Picture this. A huge metal sheet, maybe 4 by 8 feet, stretched really tight inside a big wooden box.
Wow.
You send the audio signal into it, it makes the metal plate vibrate, and then pickups transducers capture those vibrations. And what you get back is this incredibly smooth, dense reverb sound. Very lush.
Still sounds pretty big, though.
Oh, it was. We're talking 250 kilograms, like 550 pounds. Massive.
Good grief.
But compared to dedicating a whole room, way more practical. And the sound was just fantastic. It became a studio staple almost overnight, defined the sound of vocals on countless records.
Incredible. Heavy, but practical in context. So, from rooms to giant vibrating plates. What about springs? I always associate spring reverb with guitars.
You're right, and that's another really clever mechanical solution. It actually started with Hammond organs. They figured out how to send audio through a spring to create a reverb effect for their instrument.
The Hammond. Makes sense.
Then around 1959, this thing called the Type 4 Accutronic tank came along. It used 2 long springs inside a much smaller box. That compactness was the key. Hammond licensed this tech out, and Fender, crucially, picked it up. Suddenly, you had a reverb unit small enough to reasonably fit inside a guitar amplifier.
Right. So Fender. Did they put it straight into an amp, or was there a step before that?
Good question. They started with a separate unit first. In '61, Fender released the Fender Reverb unit, model 6G15. It was this cool standalone box, tube-driven, with controls like dwell, mix, tone. You'd plug your guitar into it, then into the amp.
Oh, okay. Like an early pedal, almost.
Kind of, yeah. But here's where it gets really interesting for guitar players. Just 2 years later, 1963, Fender brings out the Vibroverb amp.
A Vibroverb.
Legendary. And it was the first Fender combo amp with that spring reverb built right in. That was it. That cemented spring reverb in the guitar world. Surf music, blues, rock, that splashy, drippy sound became iconic.
Totally. You can hear it instantly. So we've got rooms, plates, springs and boxes, springs and amps. But then pedal boards start becoming a thing, right? How did reverb get onto the floor?
Right. Players wanted that control with their feet. So in the early 80s, you start seeing attempts. Morley came out with the Rock N-Verb in 1980. That was an early stomp box trying to emulate spring reverb. And importantly, it was true bypass.
Meaning it didn't mess with your tone when it was off.
Exactly. Big deal for guitarists. So now you could get that tweakable sort of tank sound on your board without lugging a separate unit or just relying on whatever your amp had. More control, more portable.
Okay, so that's the mechanical side evolving into pedals, but then there's the whole digital revolution. That must have changed everything again.
Oh, completely. A massive paradigm shift. It starts back in 1976, actually. EMT, again, the plate reverb guys, they released the EMT 250.
Yeah, 250.
The world's first digital reverb. A big, complex beast. Used multiple digital delay lines, modulated them with LFOs, low-frequency oscillators, to create the effect.
Sounds complicated and expensive.
Very. Nicknamed the space heater. apparently, and cost something like $15,000 back then. Huge money.
Wow.
But then just 2 years later, 1978, Lexicon brings out the 224. Still high-end, but maybe half the price of the EMT. And that one just took over. The Lexicon 224 became the sound of digital reverb in studios everywhere for years. What's fascinating here is just how quickly digital tech started making high-quality reverb more accessible, relatively speaking.
Relatively, yeah. Still studio gear, though.
For sure.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just about copying old sounds anymore. Digital opened up totally new sonic doors. You could create impossibly long decays, weird modulated spaces, super clean artificial rooms. Things that just couldn't exist physically. It changed mixing.
Right, creative possibilities explode. So how did that power eventually trickle down to, us mere mortals with pedal boards?
It took a little while, but by the mid-'80s it started happening. You had some early analog pedals trying to do reverb, like the DoD FX45, the Ariane SRV1. They were okay, maybe a bit limited. But the real breakthrough for pedal reverb was probably the Boss RV2. Came out in 1985.
The yellow one, classic.
That's the one. It packed digital algorithms for room, hall, plate, even delay and gated reverb into that standard Boss pedal size. Suddenly, guitarists had a whole range of studio-ish reverb sounds right at their feet. That was a huge deal for playing live and for home recording setups.
Yeah, that really democratized it, didn't it? Which brings us more towards the modern era. Now you see all these amazing boutique pedals, hybrid analog digital things. What's the story there?
Yeah, last couple of decades, especially from the 2000s onwards, have been about boutique builders and this hybrid approach, fusing the feel and maybe warmth of analog circuits with the sheer power and flexibility of digital signal processing, DSP.
Best of both worlds.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
Think back to the Electro-Harmonix holy grail in the 90s. Simple, affordable, but offered spring, hall, and that weird flurb flange reverb out sound. Super
I
popular.
remember the Holy Grail, yeah.
Then you fast forward to today, or like 2023, and you get pedals like the Meris Mercury X, just packed with features. 8 different high-end algorithms, they call them, things like ultraplate, gravity, stereo inputs and outputs, MIDI control, a deep editing,
Yeah.
all in one box. It lets players craft these incredibly detailed atmospheric sounds that mix vintage vibes with totally modern control.
So much power in a small package. And then what about pure realism, like perfectly capturing the sound of a real space?
Ah, now you're talking about convolution reverb and the plugin world. This kicked off around 1999 with Sony's DRE S777. That was the first unit that could do convolution reverb in real time.
Evolution. How does that work?
Okay, basically you capture an impulse response or IR of a real acoustic space. You go into, say, a famous concert hall or even just mic up a vintage spring tank, and you record a very short, sharp sound, like a starter pistol or a frequency sweep. That recording captures the unique way that specific space reacts to sound, all its reflections, its decay. It's like a sonic fingerprint.
Wow.
Then convolution technology uses that IR to mathematically impose those same reverberant characteristics onto any audio you feed it.
So you can make your guitar sound like it's an Abbey Road's echo chamber.
Or cave, or your own tiled shower, yeah. Today, you find this in loads of DAW plugins. Altiverb is a famous one, Aether. And now even some pedals like the Line 6 HX Stomp can load IRs. It gives you potentially infinite, incredibly realistic sounding spaces. Hyperrealism, basically.
Okay, if we connect this to the bigger picture, we've gone from actual rooms to plates, springs, early digital racks, pedals, hybrids, now this hyper-real convolution stuff. So what does this all mean, looking back at this whole evolution?
Well, it means reverb has been constantly reinvented, hasn't it, through every technological phase of music production.
Yeah.
From those first echo chambers, the springs, plates, the digital racks, the stomp boxes, and now this incredibly powerful DSP and convolution. But despite all that change, its core job hasn't really changed. It's still about giving your sound, your guitar, your voice, whatever that essential sense of place, space, and depth is, makes music feel immersive, feel alive. It's fundamental, still.
It really is incredible. Such a seemingly simple idea, making something sound like it's in a room, but with this incredibly rich history of innovation behind it. From physical spaces to algorithms that can mimic them perfectly or even create impossible spaces.
And, this raises an important question for you, the listener, to think about. With this power we now have, especially with convolution, to perfectly recreate almost any acoustic space imaginable or design completely new ones, what does that do to our idea of reality in audio? Does digitally creating space change how we hear music? Does the fake become indistinguishable from the real, or maybe even better in some ways? And thinking ahead, where does this echo evolution go next? What's the next leap going to be?